Somewhere in the world right now, a room is dark. A cake is coming in with a very specific number of candles. Everyone is singing the same song. And that song is doing a job nobody notices. It's a timer that's counting down when the person who received the cake will blow out the candles, hopefully all in one breath. Otherwise, they won't get their wish.
Right.
I'm painting you a picture of a birthday, in case you couldn't tell.
I gathered. If that were just what humans do when a year passes, every culture would have invented its own distinct version. And yes, different cultures have different birthday celebrations. Instead, much of the planet follows the same 4 steps in the same order on cue.
And for most of history, almost nobody celebrated their birthday. Birthdays were reserved for gods, pharaohs, and rich Romans.
Welcome to Hold That Thought. This is the continuation of our mini-series, Reality by Agreement, where we take something that feels like a fact of the world and find the moment that it was agreed upon. We've done the weekend, money, ranking systems, and this one's more personal.
Today, we're discussing the history of birthdays, the moment they became a thing that everyone celebrates. We're discussing why forgetting someone's birthday feels like a verdict, why certain ages are the big ones, and why it's really the one day of the year it's all about you. And even with that, it can leave you feeling flat.
Here's the thing. You don't earn a birthday. It happens to you whether you had a good year or a catastrophic one. Time does all the work.
But the party doesn't just happen. Somebody remembers it, plans it, sends out the invites, bakes the cake. So the day isn't a test for you. It's a test for everyone else. Hold that thought. Hi, Becky.
Hi, T.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. I was in Lake Tahoe and it was beautiful weather. I crisped up a little bit.
I know.
On my back.
Jealous.
Oh, you can tell on my face?
Yeah.
Well, you can never trust.
Is it natural or is it not? You keep a
self-tan.
girl guessing.
And we had a really fun time. It was my cousin and her boyfriend, who I really like. Shout out Steve. He also is a listener. We taught my nephew how to play bananagrams, and he was super into it.
That's kind of impressive. I mean, he's 8.
9.
He's 9.
The thing that hasn't quite stuck is what a proper noun is.
So like Dawn was being thrown around.
Right. Oh, we watched the Travis Barker documentary.
Oh, I did too on Thursday with
You
Claire.
did?
Yeah.
So interesting.
Really interesting. Really sad. For our listeners, Travis Barker is a very prolific drummer. Was the drummer in Blink 182. Is now married to Kourtney Kardashian. And he has a very crazy story of surviving a plane crash. And everyone else in the plane crash eventually dies.
Yeah.
And he's the sole survivor. And so it's his story of how drumming was really what got him through a lot of his grief. That started even before the plane crash too.
I found his demeanor just super, he's so mellow. You would think a drummer who can go so quickly would have a really high resting heart rate.
Yeah,
Like,
which
he's
maybe
really
helps
calm.
him. Inside, it's almost like he kind of like shuts down and then the drumming is what fires him up. It's the kind of the feeling I was getting from him.
Right.
But it was remarkable. Highly recommend. It went on a little too long, but that's okay. I had my critiques.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Yesterday, went with friends to this place in the Bay Area where you can jump into the bay and then go into a sauna. Not one of
Where?
like the Dolphin Club. Zach and Sarah are part of the Dolphin Club. Like so unfancy. It's been around for like hundreds of years and people really use it as like a swim exercise place where people go and swim miles in the bay.
Wow.
Felt really good. I'm just so, you know me in the water. I like it for like 30 seconds.
Time's up. Yep.
I wish that I could get into swimming as exercise. I know it's so good.
I didn't realize that was related to water for you. I thought it was more beach time / sun exposure.
No, it's really like I like getting in the water for little dips and I do not like going in the water. I hate pools, frankly. But Amelia yesterday asked me, did your hair turn green when you were little? And I was like, yeah, I did because it was in the chlorine. Okay, so today we're talking about birthdays. And when I was doing prep for this episode, I couldn't help but think about my first birthday memory. Tiny blips of memory pass into my mind. And it is one of those like blue padded game rooms you rent out for a kid's birthday, like a gym basically. And all I remember is having a little necklace on that had a charm. We would make our own from dragon tails. And I was obsessed with Cassie. So I obviously had Cassie's necklace charm. And then I was remembering that I think I did that 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I had a Cassie birthday 2 years in a row because I was so obsessed.
Funny.
My birthday was in February. And it always felt like the doldrums of winter. And I always,
especially in Boston,
and I always had a little bit of a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do as a result, because it felt like, what were the options? My parents got creative. They once took us to a women's basketball game.
Oh, ahead of their time.
That was great. But like the BC, the college women's basketball game.
Rec league.
Yeah, literally the rec league. I don't think there was a professional at the time in Boston. I have one more memory. My parents invited all my friends over and we had this home video where my grandmother was there to do face painting, like all this fun stuff. It was going to to be great. And all we wanted to do was put pillows on the ground, and the ground was lava. And we're 12 5-year-olds walking in a circle as if in a trance in the living room. Couch, pillow, chair, pillow, other couch, in a circle.
They've hired all these like
literally that's all we want to do. We're not even talking. We're just going in circles as if we are in a trance. And I remember I was like, this is so much fun. I've taught my friends lava game.
Childhood ingenuity.
Yeah. What about you? What's your first memory?
I'm having trouble divorcing it. I'm seeing actual photos, but I can remember having a Barbie birthday cake where Barbie's whole body was like a full Barbie was in it, and then the cake was her
skirt.
I've
seen those before.
Yeah. And it was a dome, and it's that kind of frosting that's I actually hate that stuff, and I kind of always have. I like the cake part better. I think that was probably my earliest. And we have a really cute video of me, I think it's from the same birthday, where I'm in this very sweet, it kind of looks like an old-timey floral dress with like a...
ruffled collar?
Yeah, a ruffled collar, and I'm sitting on the porch steps, and my daycare teacher, who's basically part of our family, her name's Pam, she was coming over. She lived nearby, and there's a video of me going, Pam! Just waiting for Pam.
Really cute.
Really like to greet my guests.
And Palm was an interesting pronunciation.
Well, I had kind of an accent.
Why?
Like, I used to say, my parents don't know where I got this from, but I had a bit that started when I was like 3. I'd go, there's a board in my mouth. Why? It was like call and response, but it was just me. And I had an accent.
You had
but like kind of the kid
bits are in your DNA, girl.
I know.
It is
really
like you've been doing bits since the day you could open your eyes.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
cute.
I realized that you have never seen, I'm not going to keep this in, but the video of me, I was reading aloud, brown bear, what do you see?
Yeah.
And there's a part at the end where I'm like, la la duck, what do you see? And my mom starts singing. I go, you may not sing it. And then I get back to it. It's like Bossy from The Jump.
Bossy and wanted to be star of the show.
Wanted to be star of the show.
Fair enough.
Indeed.
Fair enough. So birthdays feel like something that have been around forever. We all have a day of birth as a human. Right. So birthdays. It feels
versus the celebration of them.
Yeah. So it feels as if it's something that forever would have been something that was celebrated.
Right.
Through the lens of our contemporary understanding and practices around them. But as anthropologists go back through time of understanding the birth of the birthday celebration, you really come to 3 components. 1, you need a reliable calendar for a birthday to be a thing. That didn't show up. Well, it was long ago, 45 BC. Right. You also need good record keeping of births, which we'll get to later in the episode. And when that wasn't the practice, birthdays couldn't really be a thing. And then you also need to have this conception of age as something that is important and age tracking as something that's important. And I was listening to one historian say, age tracking is really only important in this bureaucratic society where there is meaning and measurement behind a person in society based on their age. So for
bureaucratic in what sense? Like
record keeping
within government systems?
Yeah, record keeping. Exactly. For thousands of years, while yes, we had reliable calendars, good record keeping wasn't really it. And age as a concept of something that is important in identity also wasn't really something. And age as a important element of identity and yourself in society wasn't really recognized either. So for thousands of years, birthdays were really reserved for gods.
Isn't the idea that gods don't have a birth, they've always existed?
Interesting point. So here's what I would say. It was more of like an annual marker to honor the gods. Okay. So in ancient Greece, Artemis, for example, was the Greek goddess of the moon. And there was a annual ritual to celebrate Artemis whereby people would go to the temples and there were these round things that looked like cakes. And they would put burning candles into those things to honor Artemis.
It wasn't food. It was like a rock.
It was food, but it probably didn't look like what our cakes look like today, but it was food. Fondant. And the lit flames were probably to mimic moonlight and like the smoke to carry the prayers upwards to honor Artemis during the lunar month.
Okay.
But then in ancient Egypt, it became a way of celebrating the leaders, the pharaoh in particular, really around the coronation day. So they considered the birth to divinity was your coronation when you became no longer just a measly man. You were up there with the gods.
Yeah.
And that was the day in ancient Egypt that people would celebrate, the day that the pharaoh had been coronated annually.
Okay, so not the day of the pharaoh's birth.
No. And I will say this, what I'm talking about now for thousands of years, we're talking about about celebration of a certain day to honor someone, not necessarily tied to their day of birth, which you'll see. So Romans were the first people really to extend this concept of celebrating an individual on a day to not just gods and leaders, but also just to wealthy people in general. And in the Roman Empire, it was often tied to, on your day, making offerings to your personal spirit that each person had a personal spirit based on the kind of day that they were born, similar to how in the Roman Catholic Church, people had their patron saint based on their name. Yeah. Wealthy people in ancient Rome would make offerings to their personal spirit as a way of kind of asking them to continue protecting them in the year to come. But again, not related to their own personal day of birth.
Right.
And then, like I just mentioned, in Roman Catholic Church, it became a day tied similarly to celebrating your patron saint's day. So it was called your name day, but you weren't really celebrating your day of personal birth. You were celebrating St. Nicholas Day with all the other Nicholases.
Right. So I was seeing something similar when I was researching. I hadn't gotten to the point where I would have gained clarity on this. Were there a handful of names? I know it was more common to choose from a smaller selection of names, but were there a handful of names that correlated to those days that you could choose from?
That's funny. I was reading that some countries set aside a specific day on the calendar to honor any names not explicitly listed elsewhere. For example, in Latvia, May 22nd is the catch-all day for anyone who doesn't have their name
Geraldine, take it.
But I think to your point, as newly invented names have emerged, yes, that's very much the case. I think people really did try to follow traditional name
like
day calendars.
Names too. And this is during medieval Catholic Europe, right? So pre-Protestant Reformation.
Yes.
A quote I saw was, a deeply internalized knowledge of the liturgical year and of the calendar was crucial in relation to having saints' feast days that are correlated to certain names.
Right. And it wasn't about you yourself. It was tied to this larger liturgy that was very saintly. And early Christians that we're talking about, they rejected birthdays for being self-celebratory and pagan. I didn't know this. The Bible only talks about birthdays as a celebration 2 times.
Yeah.
Once in the Old Testament, once in the New Testament.
Brutal deaths, right?
Yeah. It wasn't a good thing to have your birthday talked about. And obviously, Jesus's birthday became one of the biggest holidays and celebration in Christianity. So in the New Testament. And so for early Christians to celebrate your own birth was akin to putting yourself on the same level as Jesus. And that was sacrilegious. So really, this was not even a concept to celebrate your own day of birth.
Yeah, that makes total sense when you actually think about it. So the Protestant Reformation then disrupted that system. Martin Luther and other reformers rejected and sharply curtailed the Catholic veneration of saints. So they were basically like, no, saints aren't all that. We also deserve to be celebrated. That's a really reductive version of it.
No, but it was a byproduct of rejecting saints that the
individuality was celebrated.
Yeah, exactly.
So Protestant regions consequently diminished many saints' feast day practices. That created more cultural space for other forms of personal commemoration, including birthdays. So it went from like a saint's day communicated that you are situated within sacred time and a religious community, and your birthday, by pivoting focus to individuality and personal agency, celebrating your birthday, the day you were born, is communicating that your individual life provides the date worth commemorating.
Right. Like you just by existing as yourself is we're celebrating versus you in the patchwork of a whole community.
Yeah. Very main character energy of the Protestants. Before the 1800s, individual birthday celebrations were much more associated with wealthy, prominent, or famous people. This was a Smithsonian piece I was looking at. The idea there was this person's existence is historically significant, so that's why we would commemorate their birth. And that's a little different because this actually is a celebration of the birthday for those people versus a day that is associated with them.
Right, exactly. In the turn of the 19th century, the more modern, or what we would recognize as the modern custom of starting to put candles on a birthday cake and, you know, bring a celebration to each individual, some of those elements that we understand came from Germany, actually. A festival called Kinderfest, which is this festival celebrating the children. This, again, is very much the continuation of the perception of individuality as being revered. You're celebrating an individual, and that childhood itself is a very special time of life. And so by creating birthday parties for kids, this concept spread through Europe and then ultimately to the Americas. I was also reading that people, and this was largely true also just because the child mortality rate was so much higher, but people believed that children were especially vulnerable But on birthdays in particular, they were vulnerable to evil spirits. So lighting of candles as part of the cake is probably a remnant of that honoring of gods and honoring the spirit to kind of continue to protect them from evil.
Ward off
Exactly.
evil.
Yeah. At least at Kinderfest, the candles were left to burn throughout the day. And again, the smoke was believed to carry the child's wishes to heaven. So there's a little bit of that combo of why the candle and why the wishes. And then in the 19th century, German immigrants came over to the United States and brought the birthday candle tradition to the US. And we started to see candle on cake custom, as this article said. Evidence of it began appearing in American publications. Clearly, it was kind of taking the country by storm of, oh, look, this is kind of what's happening. And we kind of like this. But until then, it had been kind of impossible in the US for people to track their birthdays. At the start, we talked about the need for records.
Yeah.
And in the US,
the Gregorian calendar didn't exist already?
yes, there was definitely a calendar, but tracking of births. Because in 1900, virtually all US births took place at home without any medical supervision.
Yeah, no clocks.
Well, yes, clocks, and yes, date and time of calendar, but you wouldn't get your birth certificate for a few days.
Bigger fish to fry. You're like worried that the child won't
make it.
Definitely.
And you're not like a week or two pass and you have 6 kids already and you like, maybe this was on the 23rd and it was actually on the 21st. So there was often a lot of wiggle room and just not a lot of remembering. So this allowed parents to often make up birthdays for their children that would more align with what they wanted. Like back then, a lot of people chose to have birthdays on holidays. I think it made it easier. It had positive regard in the community. And so parents thought it would give positive social identity for their children. This was an actually interesting research done by a journal, Frontiers in Psychology, where they tried to find this birthday selection effect. Ultimately, if you take all birthdays everywhere, there should be even distribution across all dates. And there isn't. And that's changed also over the course of modern medicine, where now it's not that you're having a birth in the home and there's less supervision over assigning a date. It's that people have more control with C-sections over what dates they would like.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a preference for not having children on a Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Isn't there, this sounds like fake news, but isn't there a big peak in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October?
After
October 14th.
You do the math. I wasn't seeing that.
I've heard that.
Can I look it up?
The idea, obviously, if you can't read between the lines, is that people would be conceived on Valentine's Day. I also was thinking, as I was researching this, about Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, which talks about, it's a different subsect of birthday stuff. It's his first chapter. He talks about cutoff date for hockey in Canada and how kids born in January tend to be more successful hockey players because the cutoff is such that they are the start of the new group. So they're bigger they're almost a year bigger in development than the last people in their group, which are in December of the same year. So I thought that was interesting.
If you were a real hockey connoisseur, you'd be like, I'm timing it for...
But it also maps onto other stuff. That's part of why parents development in all forms in brain development, etc. So that's part of the reason he says that parents started holding their kids back.
Yes.
In elementary school.
To be the oldest in their grades.
Right.
Yeah.
Big fish, little pond.
Yeah, you were right. There is a baby boom 9 months after Valentine's Day, but it follows the baby boom post holidays. Like the week between Christmas and New Year's, people get busy.
That's interesting.
Well.
I feel like for many it could be the most sterile that they are. Barren.
I think it's like everyone has time off work and they're just feeling cheery.
They're bickering with their family.
Yeah.
Don't touch me, Robert.
The mother-in-law's in town.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in the 1900s. People are started to celebrate their children's birthdays and adults' birthdays too in the United States. And it's around this time, actually, that the Happy Birthday song comes into being. This story was super surprising, and I also didn't realize it's considered one of the most famous copyright suits in history of American copyright law. The song starts in 1893 in Louisville, Kentucky, so pre kind of the boom of the individual birthday. But a kindergarten teacher, Patty Smith Hill, and her sister Mildred came up with a little ditty. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, dear children. Good morning to all.
All right.
That was it.
Didn't see it ending at all.
beloved. It spread through classrooms throughout Kentucky and then beyond. And there was really nothing about birthdays yet. Okay. It was years later that the birthday verse was added, and it was just an addendum to it. Like maybe one of the kids in the class had a birthday, it was added. So Hale went on to leave her kindergarten job and became a recognized expert in childhood education, was working at Columbia, New York City. And I didn't know this guy, Irving Berlin. He was like a famous and well-beloved songwriter who wrote old American hits like Putting on the Ritz, Fred Astaire, things like that. He was making a new kind of song and sketch group called 1,000 Cheers, and it opened up on Broadway. And one of the sketches focused on someone's birthday, and in it he pulled out that song, Good Morning Dear Children, but only used the happy birthday verse. And this made it really popular. It also started a big copyright fight between the Hills and the producers of the show because they were like, wait, hello, we wrote this song and you're not paying us at all. So after that, the Hills won. They officially registered the copyright of the birthday lyrics of that song, and they thought that they were kind of avoiding future disputes. But the funny thing is, at that point, it was in every household. Every person was singing happy birthday at every, how do you copyright something that is like so universal? And so that's why it's regarded as one of the most difficult copyright cases, because in 1988, the music publisher who had owned the copyright at the time sold the copyright to Warner for $25 million. And until 2016, Warner was holding the rights to it. So anytime a TV show wanted to play that song, they had to pay Warner, which is just crazy to think about because we all sing it so much. It generated millions and millions of dollars, and it was a documentary filmmaker in 2013 who wanted to do a history on the song and was told that she would need to pay $1,500 to Warner to use it in the movie. And she was like, this is so ridiculous that this is still copyrighted. Like, this should have gone into the public domain. She won, and so since 2013 it's been in the public domain, so you no longer need to pay to use it.
I kind of feel bad for them.
The Hills? Well, they're dead. Frankly,
I feel bad for their descendants.
1893. I guess,
I
but
know.
it's hard. Like, once something becomes that
baked into the zeitgeist.
It's hard to quantify.
I did some cursory research around happy birthday to you and how it attaches to the ritual of birthdays. And it's interesting. I saw it referred to as really critical in tightening the sequence of birthday celebrations. And that's kind of what we alluded to at the top of the episode. At first, without the song, the sequence is loose. But after, with happy birthday as a song, the song functions as a timer. It tells the room when to start, when to stop, and when the blow happens.
Totally.
And then, as you've kind of referred to, when you add in film and television and you export the scene visually, you get a ritual that installs itself in countries with no cultural connection to 18th century Germany. Speaking of other cultures and birthdays, I came across the Dutch birthday circle. Have you heard of that?
No.
I'd never heard of it. This celebration is specific to people in the Netherlands, and it's interesting because the celebration more belongs to the group. Guests sit in a circle where they eat, drink, chat, and be merry. Neighbors' doors will be knocked on, the garden shed raided, and cushions will be piled up to include everyone.
The garden shed raided.
I think they get
Lawn
stools.
chairs?
This is
Okay. That's cute.
For the Dutch, this is how they recognize the interconnectedness of their social circle. Part of the congratulations ritual is saying congratulations to family members for their relationship with the birthday person.
Oh, fun.
Friends for being friends, and neighbors for proximity.
Cute. You're just
for everyone.
Here.
Thanks for being close. Physically. The celebration is for everyone, regardless of how tenuous their connection may be. For people in the Netherlands, the circle is the ultimate gesture of inclusivity and what's called gezelligheid. I definitely butchered that. A word meaning coziness and warmth. And the obligation runs backwards compared to ours in the States. The birthday person is expected to bring treats for the people that they've invited to their birthday party rather than them being treated themselves. There's even a piece of infrastructure associated with it, which is the birthday calendar, which is often hung in the bathroom so no birthday goes unremembered.
So someone in your house, there's a birthday calendar.
The idea is that everyone in your community, their birthday is reflected on the birthday calendar and it's in the bathroom so you see it frequently.
Like, you go into brush your teeth in the morning and you're like, oh, I can't even forget Marta's birthday. It's right here.
Liesl, Brigitte.
Okay, that is wonderful. That's so sweet. I really like that because I feel like a lot of people don't like their birthday because they don't like the concept of so much attention on them. Other people like the attention. But what's sweet about that is it kind of levels the playing field for everyone. On the day of. Like, even if you like the attention, you can get some of it.
This
but if you're not,
you.
it's not really for you. It's actually just you're putting a party on for friends. And you think about it, a lot of times when you host your own birthday party, which a lot of people do, you're also doing this for your friends. Like, you're doing it because you want an excuse to get the people around you.
Absolutely.
And also it's like, hey friends, I'll make dinner for you and give you a good time. So,
Absolutely.
but I love how overt that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I did a little bit of research into the modern significance. Now that we have this ritual that was morphed over time in history, what does it mean to us now? Like, what are birthday celebrations symbolizing in modern day? It really is an arbitrary passage of time.
Right.
And that's why it's part of this mini series. It was not a given that we would be celebrating the day that we were born.
Yeah.
When you think about it, without the Gregorian calendar, it's like you're born and then
You die.
And then you die. Yeah. There's no...
Yeah. It almost makes more sense for everyone to just, and we do this. We all celebrate the start of the new year.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the concept of passing time and obvious. I get the concept of passing time, but marking it for your own sake and understanding and celebration. But the concept of that needing to be the day you were born is very much tied to this need to know your exact age.
Yeah.
And that's pretty new. In both the United States and our culture, and also I think around the world, as age became such a core part of identity,
right,
and in the way that we build our systems, like I said, and as people's lifetimes got longer, life expectancies got longer, it was something that you could celebrate. It wasn't something that was...
It was a celebration of survival on some level.
Yeah. And then suddenly it became this concept of, well, now we have so much more life to organize around. Middle age is now a thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a phase. And so how do you demarcate middle age? And aging is now a thing. As soon as the government had to intervene and give Social Security for people 65 years and older because people were living so much longer than they could work, you need to have a very clear understanding of when you turn 65.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be in your 65th year, but like it just gets too complex. So there's a part of this that is both the individuality of celebrating yourself and also just a very brass tacks, like our world right now works on age, and age is a defining feature as a social and political concept.
I mean, what is identified as a minor versus an adult, like there's huge implications there.
Right. In terms of like,
you could think of that as like an arbitrary, one day you're consenting and the other you weren't.
Yeah.
It's just
Good
tricky
point.
territory.
Yeah.
And I understand why.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I was seeing some research around the creation of expectations around attention and affection that came from ritualizing birthdays and celebrating them. And it really became a benchmark for people to reflect on the status of their life. This historian, Howard Chudikoff, his research was cited by the Smithsonian. He says that birthdays provide a milestone through which we compare our status, accomplishments, and appearance with other people who are the same age. It's kind of like a train. Are you ahead of time, on time, or behind time? The appearance thing made me kind of bristle, but I think that's true.
Yeah, like, do I look older than this other person who just turned 30? All of that is inevitable.
Right. I think it's so funny. It feels like maybe a vestige of our parents' generation and less so something relevant now, although I have heard it here and there. People not acknowledging their age or wanting it to be a secret.
Oh, yeah. I find it
Especially
so
women.
weird. It was so problematic that became rude to ask a woman's age.
Yeah.
Because it was meant to be polite, but it inadvertently meant that if you were
backhanded.
a certain age, you were no longer valued. So keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Do you tell people your age when you're asked?
Yeah. But honestly, this is probably the first year where I felt nervous because I'm 29, coming up on 30. It just makes it feel bigger.
Yes. And like, why? It's just, it's so coded in our brain, but it's not our.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it could be just a very rudimentary, the number is different at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it feels bigger.
Well, and I found myself as I get into my 30th year, reflecting a lot more on the decade as a whole than just going from 28 to 29. So it does lend some more import to the reflection because now you're like faced with thinking about all 10 years that you just went through.
Yeah.
Versus, this year, what was that like? Yeah.
The last thing I looked at was some research on why forgetting someone's birthday feels like it communicates something about how much you care about them or don't. The piece for the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology is titled "On Being Forgotten. Memory and Forgetting Serve as Signals of Interpersonal Importance." This is pretty intuitive, but it was interesting to see it actually researched. Researchers Devin Ray, Linda Dubé, and colleagues ran 4 studies specifically examining what happens psychologically when someone forgets something about about us. So not specifically related to birthdays, but it maps onto this. Their central argument was that we don't experience another person's memory as neutral cognitive storage.
Right. Which it is.
We interpret remembering as evidence of importance. Evidence of memory in social interactions is a powerful signal of the subjective importance attached to an object of memory. Birthdays, therefore, are a ritualized test of recognition, and it creates a lot of opportunity for unmet expectations. The ritual creates expectation, and the behavior of other people is then interpreted as evidence. On a random Tuesday, if you get texts from two friends saying they're thinking of you, like, that's a great Tuesday. But if that Tuesday is your birthday, 2 texts from friends feels like a slap in the face.
Right.
And oh my God, back in the day, posting on Instagram or Facebook for people's birthdays, and then like,
wall.
what was the line for who you'd post for and not? And would you do fucking carousel or would you do a story? And I remember feeling like after leaving college, there was politics with that. Like, do I still post for these people who I'm kind of out of touch with? It felt like it actually did mean something, that I wouldn't post on someone's birthday or that I wouldn't necessarily text them anymore because we're not in each other's lives.
It was suddenly symbolic of something deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. The posting on the wall on Facebook was, I just remember going through and feeling there was so much value or unvaluing that could be derived from it.
This is a small example, but when you find out that you share a birthday with someone, it feels so special.
Akin.
Like the fact that Lil and I share a birthday is so central to our friendship. Like that bonds us in a way that is not proportional to its actual meaning.
Yeah, I know.
But it feels faded, I guess.
We like to ascribe meaning to things. That's kind of how we derive purpose in all of life, is to ascribe meaning. So this makes total sense.
And it's one of the first ways that you as an individual are celebrated. Like it also is political from the jump.
Great
when
point.
you think about elementary school and you'd have to bring treats for everybody, or you'd have to invite the whole class to your birthday party.
Yeah. Oh my God, the invite list.
Yeah.
Something I've realized as I've gotten older is that the shiny feeling that I get on my birthday, it's more muted now than it used to be when I was younger. Same with like the feeling of Christmas and things like that. And that's just so sad.
Yeah.
Because we've just had so many more that we realize it's A, just a day, B, gonna pass quickly, and C, we can give it as much import or not as we want.
Yeah.
And I think when you're younger, it's easier to think that on that day that's about you, everyone else is also thinking only about you. And then when you're older, healthily so, you realize like you realize this day's about me for me.
Yeah.
And people are working really hard to make me feel like they're making it about me. And there's only so much someone can ever do. It's laughable
that we celebrate birthdays as adults.
I know.
We are doing a fun birthday celebration for my 30th. And I wanted to make it so clear to people that I really, really don't want this to be like a pick-me situation. Like I really don't want it to be, the goal really is to connect with people.
All your people. Yeah.
In one place. And it's just it gets to be a catalyst or excuse to do that. But I've cried on almost every birthday I've ever had at the end of the night. And actually, usually it's like the night before I'm crying. I used to have this ritual where I'd look up at this sign. This is so telling. It said Rebecca's Way above my door. And I would look up at that sign and think, tomorrow when I see this sign next, I'm going to be a year older. Obviously not really how it works, but it was such a thing.
And that would make you cry.
Yeah. And then I'd cry the night going to sleep on my birthday.
Because you were sad it was over? Or you just felt like the expectations never lived up?
Well, I think on some level, I don't know. I think usually expectations lived up. My parents put on really fun, creative birthday parties. But I actually think a lot of it for me had to do with once I realized that I was aging so quickly, it made me think about my parents aging quickly. And that really freaked me out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I get that. It's true. But that is also why the celebration is needed to an extent. Right?
Yeah.
Another day around the sun.
Fun episode.
Fun episode. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you, Phoebe Fry, for this episode's music.
And thank you, Emily Kiernan, for the beautiful cover art.
If you like this episode, please like, share, and leave a comment. And we'll see you next week.